we're revisiting wording that we saw in an earlier context, but now I want to concentrate as much as I can on the precision of the wording. Every word counts. So would it be all right if we actually go through this almost word by word?
Yeah, it is beautiful.
I love the way Socrates says, and perhaps even those who established for us the mysteries, teletai, and teletai would be procedures of initiation,
Right.
were not unworthy, but had a real meaning when they said long ago in a riddling way, and here is a word that's derived from einos, enigma, and enigma, of course, is the word that gives us enigma. And so they said what? That he who arrives without initiation, and there's the word muein,
Right.
to initiate, to visualize, and to verbalize in a special way,
Which is related to the word mystery.
which is related to the word mystery.
Yep.
And as he goes on, and without ritual induction, and here the word used is telos, and without telos would be no coming full circle, no successful initiation.
Right.
Let's keep going. Into the realm of Hades. And so people who die and are not inducted, not initiated,
Right.
what happens to them? Well, they go to Hades and lie in mud. And I think that shows you that Hades really is transitional. And if you, excuse the expression, mess up
Right.
morally,
Right.
or
You get stuck there.
Even mentally, you get stuck in the mud and can't go on.
Right. But you should make a transition through it.
But if you're successful,
Yep.
then you get past Hades.
Yep.
So Hades is not eschatological. It's not where you wind up.
It's not the last place.
It's not the last place. But that he who arrives to that place, and Claudia and I talked a lot about the ostentatious use of eke and ekese,
Right.
there, over there,
Pointing there.
over yonder,
Yep.
or ekese, to that place over yonder.
Right.
It's really calling attention to something that's beyond Hades,
Right.
even though the way to get to it is through Hades.
Right.
So he who arrives to that place after purification, and here's our wonderful word,
Right.
catharsis, or as we pronounce it in English, catharsis, ritual purification, but also medical purging.
Right.
And look, it just keeps on going. All the words that we need are here. And induction, and this is a word
Again.
that's derived from telos again.
Right. Which
Then-
is actually the overall word for the ritual, too.
That's right. Successful passing through a ritual is a telos.
Yep.
So he who arrives, and I like the concept of arriving, will dwell, oikein, with the gods.
Yep.
And we've seen that idea of a condominium, so to speak, with the gods. Here it is again.
Yep.
And we've been seeing it ever since hour 16, when we were looking at the Agamemnon of Aeschylus, then in hour 17, when we looked at the libation bearers and the Eumenides.
Right.
So here you really see that if this scenario is true, then there is an afterlife. Not only is there an afterlife, but there is a shared life with the gods. So there's an immortalization after death, that the psyche does come back to life, does get reanimated. It's all here.
Right.
And it gets better as those who are involved in the mysteries say, many are the carriers of the Bacchic wand, narthex, but few are the Bacchoi, who are the true worshippers of Bacchus. Then Socrates goes on and gives it all a philosophical twist, but I'm interested in the ritual wording here that philosophy inherits.
Right.
And
or adopts it, really, right? In a
that
certain
adopts,
sense.
yes. And I think of this as a pre-Christian way of saying something that in Christian terms, and we saw that when we were reading the Bacchae
Right.
in hour 21,
Right.
And I quoted a passage from the New Testament. Many are called, but few are chosen.
Right.
A parallel mentality in a Christian worldview.
Right.
But here we see the pre-Christian foundations for that way of thinking.
Yes, you have to get really tuned in order to make the process work. Yep.
And you know, Lenny, I really paid a lot of attention to that passage in the Bacchus where Dionysus, or a proto-idea of Dionysus, bursts forth as a flame
Right.
from a narthex.
Yep.
And so there you see the primary visualization of the mystery, that a narthex is the hollow reed from which a burst of flame emanates, and that flame is the salvation for the worshipers.
Wow.
I did mention when I was talking about that passage in the Bacchus with Claudia, how every time we think of that part of a Christian church called the narthex, that's what it's all about, because that is where the Easter candle is lit.
Yep.
And after a blackout, so to speak, during Lent, then on Easter Saturday, there can be this burst of flame. And in the
coming back
Latin
to life.
version, the priest will intone Lumen Christi, the light of Christ. And those images are so very much alive in pre-Christian forms of worship,
Right.
as in the worship of the god Dionysus.
Yeah.